Hello, welcome to Social Studies for today. We are doing two things. First of all, we're just going to talk a little bit about the other day, which was the stuff on consensus, where consensus could be used and where it probably wouldn't be the best idea. So we'll start with that. And then we're going to get into our next thing for social studies, which is learning about the Wampum Belt, which is kind of like one of the coolest parts of the Iroquois Confederacy, I think. And then after this, we're pretty much going to be done Iroquois, which is kind of exciting. So here we go. Okay, so this is what we did the other day. We started with talking about advantages and disadvantages of consensus. So we did this as our notes. Then this was your assignment, which is where you had to say, okay, yeah, consensus, bring it on. This is going to be a really good real life situation or current event where we would want to use consensus. And then consensus, not so much. This would be a situation where consensus might not be the most effective means of decision making. So that was your assignment on Seesaw. So these are the ones that I have had submitted. I've started going through them and giving you guys some comments. So these are the people, if your name is highlighted, thank you very much for having already finished this. This is due today, or it was due today, I guess. So if you're not done, please do so, before tomorrow, okay? So there we go. You guys get social task done. Well done. Okay. Now, today, we are into our next thing. So we have done, we've done this. Okay, so what are advantages of consensus? We've done that. And then now today, we are on to how did the Wampum Belt address collective identity? Woo! Okay, well, what even is collective identity? Okay, so this should be a brand new page. Okay, double spread fold. How did the Wampum Belt address collective identity? Okay, then we only have two more left. Okay, so before we watch this video, kind of just think about what do you think a wampum even is? What on earth is that? Have you ever heard that word before? And then what do you think it might be used for? Okay, well, it's a belt of some type. Okay, well, let's just watch this. If we were in class, we'd have a little discussion about it, but we're just going to watch this. Whoops. All right, here we go.
What is wampum?
Wampum has many uses. One use is it records our history. Another use it tells who we are by a people.
You don't have to take notes.
Another way we use wampum is to tell who our leaders are.
Just watch.
So wampum has a lot of important uses for the Haudenosaunee people.
What is its purpose?
Well, if it's for a chief, it tells a chief who they are, because each chief gets their own wampum. And if it's a ceremony coming up and we have to invite people, we use wampum to invite people. And if we have a big thing that happened in our history, we make a wampum belt.
Cool.
Do you wear the wampum belt?
No, wampum belts are usually really big, and they're not for really wearing, but our speakers will hold them and then tell a story about what happened. And the belts are a great way to remind the speaker what actually happened a long, long time ago.
Why are wampum belts in purple and white?
Good question. The wampum belts are made because a man named Hiawatha, he first found these clam shells. And clam shells, if you look inside, are purple and white. And he strung them together, and he said, "These are so beautiful. These will make me happy," because he was very sad. And these purple white wampum made him feel so good.
What does the images on the Hiawatha belt mean?
Well, on the Hiawatha, there's 5 images, and when we look at the Hiawatha belt, we look at them from the east to the west. So we first look at this first square here, and that shows the Mohawk Nation, because because they were the first nation to accept the peace. And then the peacemaker in Hiawatha traveled west. We have the Oneida Nation, and then we have the Onondaga Nation, and it shows that in the Tree of Peace. And then we keep heading west to the Cayuga Nation, and then we head to the Seneca Nation.
What are the squares for?
The squares represent nations or people. When we make wampum belts, that's how we show that that's a people or a nation. And these two lines here, those represents that we're friends or we're allies. And then this symbol in the middle, this is a symbol that's just unique for the Haudenosaunee's Onondaga Nation, because this is where they have the Tree of Peace, where everybody threw their weapons of war. And you can see how we're all united together. And see how it goes off the belt? That means if any nation wants to join our peace, they're welcome to join us.
Isn't that nice?
No, I actually didn't know that part.
Mm-hmm. It's true.
Okay. Very nice. Alrighty. Okay, so
Before Europeans arrived on what they would name North American soil, 5 nations came together and formed.
Okay, yeah, you're cool, but we're not gonna listen to you right now. Okay. Alrighty. Okay, so first of all, these are the notes that we have that we're going to do today. Okay. So how did the wampum belt address collective identity? So that's just what you should have at the top of the page. So I basically just summarized the key points from the video. So the wampum was made from shells woven into patterned strings or belts. So the one that they showed, like this one here, this isn't actually a belt. It's more of like kind of like a cloth. Okay, so yeah. And then collective identity is a shared belief system that often includes the same language, culture, values, and attributes. So that is what collective identity is. So collection, right? Collection would be the root word, or collect of collective. Identity, like what you are, what you stand for. So it's the same culture, language, values, and attitude. Okay, so that's what this represents. It represents everyone collecting and joining together with mainly the same kind of like values, mainly around peace. Okay, so the wampum helped to preserve the collective identity of the Iroquois by keeping a record of, this is what it did. So maybe if you wanted to even like in your page, you could even draw the wampum. That would be the best thing to do, because this is a visual journal after all. So you could even have like little parts kind of like going out from it. So it showed important events in history, including the ideas and how the treaties developed. It also showed who the Iroquois or the Haudenosaunee people are, what they believed in, and any stories that they shared. The chiefs or the leaders all got their own wampum to help like identify whenever they went to a Grand Council meeting, they could identify who they were. And then, or if they were even just having like a clan, just a meeting within their own clan. So these belts show that although the Iroquois come from different nations, right? The 5 different nations, they're political, social, and culturally, they're united. They're politically, socially, and culturally united, even though they have different nations that they came from initially. Now they're joined together, of course. Okay, so the children, right, this is also kind of interesting fact, the children were trained from a young age to be wampum keepers and to take care of and read the wampum. So to pass on, because a lot of their history was based upon tradition, oral tradition and stories, not so much written form. Because, well, mainly because in the winter, when like they had the harsh climate, they didn't really have methods like ancient Athens did to actually preserve a text. So wampums are similar, so this is your question. Wampums are similar to what original artifact that we learned about from the time of ancient Athens. So how were stories and histories passed on through their original artifacts? Do they show the same or different parts of society? So what does the wampum show, and then what did in ancient Athens? What was showed in ancient Athens? Was it the same thing, or was it different? Okay, so that is your thinking question of today. And that is it for social studies today. We're not doing social studies tomorrow, so this question will be due on Tuesday. Okay, good work.